25 years ago, I was in a studio with the band I was in at the time called Framing Watson, and we were recording effectively what were some demos as a way to try and get a record deal. The studio was called Secret Sound Studios. The producer was Adrian Hannon. At that point, he'd worked on a record by a band called Taxi Ride, which was a massive hit. He'd also worked with Vanessa Amorosi, and our keyboard player randomly met him in a record store and they struck up a conversation. And so we went into the studio and recorded some demos with Adrian as a way of trying to get a record deal. Of course, the record deal never happened. The band imploded. We fell apart not long after that. And here we are 25 years later, we've reconnected. We've dug up the old tunes and we've posted some of the stuff that we worked on onto Spotify. But we haven't posted the Secret Sound sessions, and that's because on listening to them 25 years later, they are really good recordings. They're fantastic quality recordings. I think the performances are probably the best performances that we ever did in the studio. And so what we've decided to do is to actually have these songs mastered. They were never mastered. They were never meant to be released. They were always meant to be demos. So we're having them mastered, and we're going to release them onto Spotify and Tidal and Apple Music and all the major platforms. So I've mastered these tracks using some plugins myself, namely the iZotope suite of plugins, specifically Ozone 11, for those of you who really want to nerd out about this stuff. And I was really happy with what I did, given the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing. I was very happy with just pulling up one of the presets and having a listen to it. And it was instantly louder, clearer, had more bottom end. It was a great stereo image. It sounded, like we were a real band. And I was all ready to go and start releasing these songs. And then I decided just to run them through the AI mastering service at lander.com, Landr.com. Now, lander.com, I'll make another video about Lander at some point, but it's a full music production distribution platform really for artists. And so we're actually distributing our songs to Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon Music through the Lander platform. And they have this AI mastering service where you literally upload your song and within a couple of minutes it's mastered. So I've mastered the songs using that, and it beats mine hands down. It just, again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just playing with the software and I don't know what I'm doing. I stuck it into AI and it absolutely just kills my my version of the track. So I've decided, well, okay, they're the versions that we're going to publish onto Spotify. So I've got the 4 tracks from the Secret Sound sessions, and we're going to publish them onto Spotify. However, just before we do that, I've discovered, and by the way, if you're watching this, the Music Nerd channel, I have kind of pivoted this channel a little bit to show you the behind the scenes of writing, recording, producing, releasing music in the year 2025. Now, full caveat here, right? Full disclaimer. We're all in our 50s now. We don't give a shit about fame and fortune, and we're not interested in, being a famous rock band and touring and doing all that kind of crazy stuff. We've all got families and we've all got our own careers and we're all very well settled into life, right? We're doing this for the pure, well, at least I'm doing this. I hope the rest of the band members feel the same. I'm doing this for the pure joy of creating music. And how freaking lucky am I that I've managed to reconnect with 3 of the band members who are some of my oldest friends and who I went to school with. I played indoor cricket with these kids when I was, 9, 10 years old. I've known a couple of them since I was 6, and we've reconnected and we're gonna make new music together, right? That's why we're doing this, for the pure joy of creating music and collaborating with people on a creative project. So, having said all of that, before we release these tracks, I had remembered a long time ago that you could actually get your songs mastered at Abbey Road Studios without actually having to get on a plane and fly to Abbey Road, which, by the way, I have done. In 2010, I spent 49 days on a tour, a holiday with my girlfriend, who's now my wife and the mother of our beautiful children, and we spent 49 days travelling around the UK and Europe, mainly Europe. But we spent a few days in London, and so we went to Abbey Road, and yes, we walked across the pedestrian crossing just like the Beatles did, and we held up traffic while someone took our photo. That's what you do. That's what everyone does there. Well, I couldn't get into Abbey Road. They won't let you in the studio unless you're a client, right? Or, you know. So then the internet happened, right? And I remember reading years ago that you could get your songs mastered at Abbey Road. So I decided to look it up. Turns out you can now get your songs mixed and mastered at Abbey Road Studios by an engineer that has worked on David Bowie records or Radiohead records or, you know, you name it. They've worked on symphony orchestra recordings. They've worked on cinema. They've worked on movie soundtracks. These guys have mastered everything you can possibly think of. Coldplay, U2, all the name. You know, maybe not Taylor Swift. I'm not sure about Taylor Swift. Don't quote me on that. You know, Keen. The list goes on and on and on. Like, just go to the Abbey Road website and check out the mastering and the mixing engineers. These guys and girls have done everything, right? The engineers there have just, the experience is just invaluable. So it turns out that to master one of your tracks at Abbey Road costs $200 US. Now, I remember making a record and back in the day and flying up to Sydney to have my track mastered at 301 Studios in Sydney by the wonderful Steve Smart, who has worked on every Australian record worth mentioning. And it was a lot more expensive than $200 a song, right? Now, the reason I think it's $200 a song is because it's a remote service. I'm not in the studio. I'm not going to sit there all day and micromanage the mastering engineer and tell him to turn the hi-hats up in the second verse because I don't know what I'm doing. And that's just painful for everyone. It's much better if these guys and girls and people just master the song without the artist being in the room, right? And so they're obviously just saying, hey, we've got some downtime. There's an hour or a couple of hours in between projects here. You go into the studio, master this track. Some idiot in Australia who used to play in a band 25 years ago has uploaded his track onto our website and wants it mastered at Abbey Road. So that's what we're doing, okay? So what I thought I'd do is also walk you through the brief. What I've done here on the Abbey Road website is I've created an account with Abbey Road. Maybe one day I'll get to fly to London and they'll actually let me in the door because I'm a client. And I've chosen my package, which is a $200 package. It gives me, I can specify the engineer, and I have specified Jeff Pesci, I think his last name is. Anyway, I'll let you look up their profiles, and I've chosen Jeff because he's worked on a bunch of albums that and music that I like, and and also I watched a video on their YouTube channel and kind of heard a little bit about Jeff's process, and I really liked what he was all about. So I've chosen the engineer. We're mastering in 24-bit. We get one set of revisions, and we get back SD 16-bit tracks, right? Great. So the song is called How Do You Do That? I've uploaded the main track here. Now here's my brief to the engineer. It's long, but you know, I thought it was kind of worth sharing this because I don't know what I'm doing, but what I want to do is I want to share this, and then I want to share the song when it comes back. I want to be able to share this with you guys so that you can hear how this brief was taken and what Jeff did with the track. So, hi Jeff, thanks for taking the time to master our song. We're thrilled to have the opportunity. This song was recorded 25 years ago, true story, by a bunch of eager kids in their mid-20s called Framing Watson as a demo to try and get a record deal. 25 years later, we've all reconnected as grown-ups, and we're collaborating on some new music and thought it might be fun to release these demos that we never got around to releasing back then. I give you this context to let you know this is a labour of love, and we're doing this for the pure joy of it. I mastered this track myself using the iZotope plugins. I have no idea what I'm doing. And also using the AI mastering service from Lander, and so we decided to get it mastered at Abbey Road just so we can say we've done it. I've had a song mastered at Abbey Road. Plus, we're big fans of some of the music we've worked on. So now the song. The song was written in a jam session when we were sitting around trying to write a hit song. It's a true story. We were trying to write a hit song because we knew we were going into the studio. At this point, we were going to go into the studio with Peter Farnan from Boom Crash Opera, who was our producer, and we did the pre-production on these songs. Eventually, we took them to Secret Sound and we worked with Adrian Hannon, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we were sitting around in this house trying to write a hit song. How do you write a hit song? And our bass player kept singing Waterloo by ABBA. Waterloo. And he kept saying, how do you write a chorus like that? How do you do that? How do you do that? And I was like, I don't know. How do you do that? and he had the bass guitar, and he was just going dun dun, and saying, "How do you do that? Dun dun, right? Dun 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 dun. How do you do that?" And the song was born, and within about 10 minutes, the bulk of the song was written. The chorus was written. I remember leaving the house that day, going home to where I was living, and I was so freaking excited because I was convinced that we'd just written a hit song, and it was only, half done. So then we took the song, we did pre-production with Peter Farner from Boom Crash Opera. Then it was finally mixed by Adrian Hannon, re-recorded and mixed by Adrian Hannon, who's, as I said, worked on Taxi Ride and Vanessa Amorosi and a bunch of other artists. And in 2000, it was recorded and mixed, 25 years ago, on a Pro Tools rig. The mix sounds a bit thin to me and sounds like it needs some more bottom end. That there, ladies and gentlemen, is my brief to the mastering engineer. The mix sounds a bit thin and sounds like it needs some more bottom end. The song is about the wonder of young love when you become so smitten with someone that you can't understand how they make you feel the way they do. I've always thought it would make a great TV commercial for Coca-Cola or as a soundtrack for a TV show. Anyway, that's enough of my rambling. We plan to release this on a Spotify title and all the major platforms just for fun. So I've uploaded the track, I've given the notes, I'm going to click on submit, and the song has been submitted, and there we go. We've now submitted that track to Abbey Road, and they will master it, and when it's ready for download, we'll get an email. I don't know how long it'll take, but hopefully, in the next week or so, I'll have a mastered version of this track, which I will then compare with the version I did with iZotope and the version that I did with the AI mastering service at Lander. All right. Again, this is the Music Nerd YouTube channel where I'm just pulling the curtain back on the process of writing, recording, mixing, producing, mastering, and releasing music, old music and new music, to the world for the pure joy of listening and creating and talking about music, because, what else is there to do, really? So hit subscribe, like, share this with anyone you think might find it interesting. And thank you to all of you people for tuning in, and go and enjoy some more music. Bye for now.